All right, hello creators and welcome to the fourth seminar of the Dized Creation Tool. This time, as mentioned previously, we will concentrate more on the animation aspect. So we won't be learning that many new skills today, since last time was pretty intensive with the logic and doing the play loops. We'll take a look at it soon, just to see what we did last time. So today, as requested by a few creators, we'll concentrate on creating some cool animations. I sent a video before on what we're gonna build, and we will keep this stream in about half an hour and see how far we are going to get. And as a reminder, this is not one-to-one build of the Babylon practice project. I'm using the same assets, but I'm creating rules on the fly just to kind of highlight on certain aspects you will need while building your own tutorials. So the rules and the layout and everything is completely imaginary. It will help you out to know the basics, but you cannot use this kind of as the practice project itself. So let's hop into it. I'm gonna share my screen first. There we go. Now let's see, this is what we were building. Let's move that away a bit. This is what we were building the last time around. The first lesson concentrated on creating the first tutorial flow, the setup, and some small logic, choosing the amount of players and modifying the flow based on that. And then we had the setup complete, and last time around, on the third seminar, we created the first play loop. And as a reminder, when it came here, it added +1 to the turn variable. So when the tutorial proceeded here, the variable turn was 1. And then based on which turn is it 1, 2 or 3, this dictates on where the flow goes. So in the first turn, it flows through the first player's turn all the way to the end. And since it's not ready to go to round 2 yet, it loops back in the beginning, adds +1 to the turn variable, and since it's +2, it goes the second player's turn. We give a little bit of additional information that the first player does not need on the second player's turn, and then ask, do they want a recap or just continue playing? And the same if there's a third player, we'll ask if they want a recap or playthrough, and ask about villages and stuff like that. So it will go through the play loop until it's ready to go to round 2. So basically when turns equal the amount of players, then we know that everyone has played 1 turn. Then it goes to round 2. So we will start animating this today. And we always start by creating a master step. This actually I always do before I do one single animation. So I wouldn't have done any of the animations for the setup before I do this. But for convenience sake, we decided to already start animating in the first seminar. So here we are. So let's do the master step now. A master step is a step where everything is in its correct place, and you will use that to copy and paste assets and stuff in the tutorial. So we can use a setup complete as a base. And as a reminder, we did create a step that reminds everyone to please note that the examples in the tutorial will differ from what you have on the table. So we can't use, basically it doesn't make sense to have examples in always the right player amount. For example, the differences here are that there are 2 meeples on the table, or there are 3 meeples on the table. So we'll just choose one that we'll use as a basic example master step. And I'm gonna use the 2-player one here. So let's start by duplicating the block, and let's keep the ending position of it. So we will use the sync block option, and we don't need to keep the block links. So that's the default, or the default next step. We'll clear that and start creating. Now there are a couple of assets that we're gonna need in the game, so we will create them now. First of all, we will do a custom object, which is the warlord standee, and then we'll do a die, and we'll add them to the master step. They already should be here in these steps. They should have been included in the setup, but again, as I kinda come up with stuff as I go, I'm gonna start adding them here. If we have time, we can add them to the actual setup as well. So let's first create the new assets. We go to SO Explorer, so Smart Object Explorer. Plus gives us the selection of the base models, and let's do the die first. It's a 6-sided die, and we'll select it. We'll name it D6, that is good for us, and then we need the diced texture map. So this is, if we have a custom die, we can use this. If we don't have a texture map, it's just a plain old die with I think a white texture. So let's have that first. We haven't uploaded it, so we went to Asset Explorer. Let's create a folder called Dice. It's under the components, and open that up, and let's upload the texture here. So now there's a folder called die, if there was, or dice, and we'll add this here, and let's select that so that dice texture map is here. We'll have a wooden surface. Once again, it gives less reflection. I like it like that. You can use plastic also if you like to have a bit more reflection on your assets. So I'm gonna save this, and we should have a die. It's here. Okay, cool. And then we will do the warlord standee model. So this time we'll actually do a custom model. So we will create a new object, and of all these objects we will choose the custom one. So this is whenever you do a custom model, you need to do it through the custom object. So let's select that, and we'll call it warlord. And now it asks for two things here. First, the model, which is .obj, which is the object itself, and then the texture for it. If you mix this up, the editor will crash when you try to open the animation editor. So try to be careful that you will choose an OBJ file as the object and the texture correctly as a PNG or a JPEG. So let's first do the OBJ object. Just a second, we have someone joining up. Hello Lasse, good that you could join in. I am just creating some assets here, and currently I'm doing a warlord standee, so a custom object. You will be able to jump right in. So we will first do let's do a models folder where we will put all the models, and once again this is under components, so they're all nicely and tidily set up here. So we'll add the models, which warlord. Let's add all the 3 models. The difference between these are that there's an object that has a standee, which we will use this time, and there's also an object without the plastic standee. So when you do a setup, for example, you can have the standee as a standalone and the cardboard cutout as a standalone, and show how they are attached. Let's first upload these. Okay, they are uploaded now, but as you can see, you don't see anything, and this was because we needed to set the filter here on the top right corner, which is showing images as default, to other, and you can see that the objects are here right now. And we'll choose the warlord standee with base, select that, and now the OBJ file is here, and then we add the texture. Once again, let's upload some assets, and we don't see them because the filter is wrong. Let's change it to the images. There we go. And then we will do, I think, this. So it's a 1024 base. There we go. And this is also wooden, so it doesn't give that much reflection. And when we save it, we should have both the die and the warlord itself. So let's continue making the master step, and we can remove the text here, since the only thing we need this step for is to be that master step where we copy our assets from, so they are always in the correct position. So now we have this is the end of setup scene, and let's see that we don't have any camera motions here. Nope, it's empty, so we haven't done any camera animations in this. So let's add the missing components. So what we need in the master step, let's open up the library here. We need a deck of cards where people will lift up their new cards. Let's drag it to the scene, and we use the snap to ground to put it on the ground so it leaves a nice shadow. We'll put it there, for example. And then we needed to put the warlord, so we drag it from the library. It looks very good, just as we wanted it here. And then we needed to have the die, the D6. We have it in the library, which we just created. Let's drag it here, and once again snap to ground so that everything is on the ground level. All the other assets have already been snapped before, so they are fine. And now we will find a good camera angle that shows all the assets. Remember, the first border, the dark gray border, is something that you want to keep your objects highlighted. People will see around them, but this is the minimum viable area. So every screen available will see at least this. So don't put anything important behind this. So this looks good. We'll save the tutorial camera angle, and this master step is now done. Everything is as I want it to be just when the game starts. We can do a kind of a mid-game step as well and end-game step as well if you need them, but for this example we'll do just what with the end of setup. Okay, whoops, stay in editor, let's save that as well. There we go, and then we can actually start. Let's start with the goal of the game. So how we do, since we don't want to start putting assets here every time when we create a new step, that's why we have the master step. I'm gonna use this to sync all the assets, all the smart objects from master step to goal of the game. I push sync, and all the objects copied here along with the camera. So this here. And in the first step we were supposed to move these meeples to Susa and show a movement card. And the text was, goal of the game is to reach the city of Susa by playing movement cards from your hand. So always show what you teach. So let's first move these objects into place. The red meeple was somewhere here. The green meeple was 2 steps away from Susa. Let's put it here. This guy is right behind. So the camera angle is wrong since it's too far away. People will not see what's happening here with the small screen. So always remember to zoom in and keep the action focused inside these gray borders. If I'd put the my camera here, the red meeple wouldn't be shown in some devices, and I wanted to show it in this case. So I'm going to put this in a way that we can see both meeples, the Susa, and a card that will drop here to show the movement. Let's save the tutorial camera. Okay, we needed a card that shows 2 movement that allows this player to go to Susa. So we'll drag the card here. It's under there. I'm gonna use lift this up. There we go. Turn it nicely. Since the camera moved, I'm going to move it back in place. Tutorial view. Let's make it a bit smaller so people can see the city of Susa. I'm gonna put it here. it crops a little bit, but that doesn't matter, as the main thing is that people will see the card and the number 2 in it. So that's a good place for it. Let's first animate the dropping card. So I'm gonna drag up the timeline editor, and this is now in the place where I want it to pause when it drops here. So I'm gonna create an animation segment like this, and now nothing's on it since I closed it immediately. Now I want this to drop here, so I'm gonna actually click this with the right button and change the start point of the animation. And I'm gonna use these buttons to place it outside the top view. And then save animation, and it will drop here, as you can see. I want it to be faster there, and then I want it to pulse quickly. I'm gonna create 2 empty segments and select the first one, change end, load it a lot so it will pulse quickly as a big one, so people will see it. Now you can see the end of this one, it's big, and then it will automatically scale up to the original size. Gonna make it a quick pulse. So now the card will drop here, it will pulse, and when it goes smaller, at 2.2 seconds, I want this green meeple to start moving. So let's start moving this guy. Record animation. Once again, I made an empty segment. I'm gonna put it right in place, and then I'm gonna change the end of this segment. I'm gonna lift this up, tilt it a little bit, move it a bit forwards to give it a nice little touch. Save animation. Keep on animating. Tilt it a little bit more, higher, forward there, and then I want to drop the guy. A new segment, tilt it to almost original position, lower it forward, and then what happened? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Gonna edit this a little bit there, and there, and the 4th segment shall correct it to the original position, drop it to the ground level, and go here, twist a little bit. Then I'm going to make it a bit faster by shortening this up. And let's see how it looks like. Pretty good. And then I'm gonna make it another step to the City of Susa. So once again, animation segment, move a bit further up. We can use X to realign the compass here. There, another segment, tilt it a little bit higher and forwards. Then tilt it back a bit, lower it forwards. Then the 4th one, it shall drop to the ground level in Susa. That's it. And shorten the animation once again. I'm gonna leave a little bit of breathing space so it spends a little bit of time there. And there we have it. And then I'm gonna do a quick pulse that it got there and won the game. So once again, 2 empty segments, edit the end of that one, load it up, lift it so it doesn't clip into the table, save, shorten this up. There we go. And this doesn't have to loop, so I'm gonna have a no loop here. So let's see what we got. Let's close this up and preview the animation.
Goal of the game is to reach the city of Susa by playing movement cards from your hand.
Great, just what I wanted. Now the next step afterwards is please note that the examples used might differ, and there are different ways to do it, but I'm gonna show one way. I'm gonna sync blocks, so I'm gonna copy everything that is here to here, sync Ixos, So this means it made a carbon copy of this one. It has some animations, but I'm gonna remove them. So I'm gonna choose that object, drag it to the end position, remove animations, so it stays there. Same here. End position, remove all animations. And now we were supposed to drop the third meeple here as an example that there might be a third meeple that the players use. So I'm gonna drag it here on the table. If I'd use the snap to ground, it'll clip inside the board, as the board is on ground level. So I'm gonna use manually bring it up. This is a great place for it. And once again, I want to drop it. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna create an empty animation segment for it. Right click, change start, put it outside the top view, save animation. So it drops here a bit faster. I want to give it a little bump so it'll jump quickly up and down. So create two segments, change the end of first a little bit higher, save, and there. Now it should bump a little bit. Dunk, dunk. Great. And I can pulse it as well to highlight that there's a third meeple. Two segments, change end. I think you at this point you should be starting to get the gist of how we do the pulsing things and stuff like that. So it's always the same thing. Create two segments, and this makes sure that the meeple is exactly in the right place where it started when you create two segments. You don't have to find the right scale manually. There we go. And we don't need to loop this either. So it can stay as no loop. Save and close. See what we have.
Please note that the examples used in the tutorial might differ from what you have on your table.
Okay, now there's a problem.
Let's start.
You can see that the animation completed quickly and the text keeps going. So maybe we'll do a loop after all. So let's do a loop after all animations, but we don't want to loop it immediately, otherwise it'll look funny. So I'm gonna create an empty space, empty animation here. So it will loop when the timer reaches 4 seconds, and then it'll loop again. So let's save this. And now the players have something to look at when the voiceover goes on explaining this. So.
Please note that the examples used in the tutorial might differ from what you have on your table.
Great. That's it. I might have saved it too quickly. Let's see if we got a small glitch that can happen with the editor. So, first player. No, we didn't. Okay, onwards. First player, there are different ways to show this, whether you want to show arrows, or if you let the players choose the player colors, then you can show the right colored player. But I'm gonna do it in a kind of a vague way, since we didn't ask the player colors. Yes, actually we got the bug. If this happens, it's because you've saved and closed a step too quickly. And what helps here is I'm gonna just plainly reload the editor. Before I do, save positions so we don't get steps in odd places. That's good that these bugs happen, so when you encounter them you will know what happened. So there are different ways of doing the first player thing, but typically I'd ask first player choose your color in the setup, for example, or just before the game starts, and then I'd show that colored meeple. Okay, first player, and I show the red meeple, for example, it's your turn. That can be done when you do your own variables, for example, green meeple variable or red meeple variable, so forth, and then you can do them with the logic. That's a bit more advanced, but it's pretty easy to do once you get your head around it. Okay, first player, and we were supposed to drag 3 meeples here. Let's drag them first, choose them all, put them to ground level, and let's go a bit closer. Let's close that up, and as before, keep the action within the gray borders. Just move these guys into good positions like that, and here, and we just wanted these guys to look at each other and turn a little bit. let's go close enough, tilt a little bit, since always when you give it an angle it makes everything a bit more interesting. Save the tutorial camera and let's have this guy turn first. So we create once again 2 segments, since I want it to return to the original position. Change the end of first one, tilt it a little bit, save, and a bit slower, change in half a second and come back a bit later, and then I want it to loop immediately afterwards. There we go, it twists and turns, and I copy this animation and I give it to the green meeple. It turned it because I copied the exact positioning, so I twist it to the right position. I changed the timing a little bit, so this will kind of twist and turn at the different times. I'm going to copy this, same here, paste, correct the positioning, and then do, for example, this, and loop immediately to both of them. And that should be it. Now we have 3 guys who are looking
First
at each
player,
other.
you're up.
Okay, first was the info on movement. We wanted to show players how to move on the board, and now we will use the master step once again. Let's choose it, and with the shift select info movement, sync blocks, sync exos, which were those custom smart objects, and we have everything in place. And we want to show a card with being played, then it going to the discard pile. And if we wanted to, we could use the card we already created, so we don't need to animate it again. So let's go get it. Let's find the goal of the game step and choose smart objects. We should have a card which is animated, which is called card 2, number 1. It shows 3 animation segments. I'm gonna choose it, copy that smart object, it shows it's copied, and now I have that card and that animation copied, and I'm gonna drop it here. Let's go to smart objects, paste, there we go. Now when we go here, we should have a card that drops and pulses, so we don't have to do that again. Let's just put it in the right place where we want to have it, for example here. And now let's see, great. Gonna tilt the camera a little bit so we can have the discard pile there as well. What annoys me is the shadow in the beginning. That is easy to fix. We'll choose the object, change the starting position, drag it higher, and now the shadow will not show. There we go. It comes here, pulses, and then it should go to the discard pile. Let's save the tutorial camera here and continue animating this. Record animation. We just want it to go to the discard, so we'll start moving it, twisting it a little bit. There we go. Save animation, another animation. We will keep twisting it. X resets the axle, and then snap to ground. Take it here. There we go. And we have a discard pile. We will adjust the timing on this after we do the... Well, actually, let's do it like this. No, we want it to go to the discard after movement, so let's worry about that later. So we want to move a meeple, let's say red meeple this time around, 2 steps. Same things as before. I will just start animating this little by little, give it a little tilt so it looks a bit nicer. Another one, twist and turn and tilt and drop. And do this movement with 2 segments, and another one, lift twist and turn here, and back to original position and on the ground here. And I want this to move after the pulse happens, so let's say in 2.5 seconds. And I want it to have a small pause between steps. There we go. And if we do a loop, I'm gonna add a small thing here. So I want this card to go to this card after the movement, so it should start going there at 4.5 seconds. So let's just do that. And now I want the loop to happen at 6.5. Okay, that's it. That's how fast it's done.
In the game, you move your meeple on the track by playing the card in your hand.
There we go. Now, as you saw, it clips.
In the game, you move your meeple.
It clips through the deck, which I do not like at all. It doesn't look very professional, so that's very easy to fix. At the end of the first movement, I'm gonna change the end and just drag it this way a little bit, and now you can see it shouldn't clip anymore. It still clips. Let's drag it a little bit more. Maybe give it a little height. We can change the end position as well. So now it doesn't clip. Yep, there we go. And we'll do one more step. We are already half an hour in. So this is the last step we'll do. So now we want for the players to actually, this is where we had the autoplay true, where we show players what to do, and this is where we ask them to do it. So we don't want to start from the end of this step. So let's go here once again to the master step and sync them here. We should have the starting positions. Great. And let's go a bit closer. So I want to highlight this time both the card and the meeple, and leave a bit of space for the discard pile, which I will put here. So I'm going to put this so as close as I can, so that everyone can see the assets. This will clip a little bit, but it doesn't matter, since people will still see the card even with the smallest of screens or the smallest of resolutions. And I'm gonna flip it here anyway. So the first thing to do is lay a card. I think it said first instruction is lay a card on the table and move your meeple. So we don't put it to this card yet. So I'm gonna save this and record animation. We'll do lift there, move a little bit there, and then drop it to the table. You could always use shift when you do the movement. It gives the increments. It's a little bit better to do like that, so you will have it always in the correct angle, so you don't have to fix like this later on. There we go. So first it shows the cards on the table like that. This will have to loop, since people will be on this step as long as they do the push forward. So flip the card on the table, then move the meeple. And let's move the red meeple once again. So we'll do the same animation thing as we did before. There we go. And it was one step this time. This is kind of borderline. Is this too far away? Since the meeples aren't too big. But I could use a camera animation here, but I try to avoid them as they can confuse players. So I'm gonna be using this for now. And let's see what it looks like. So it moves, Actually, I want to do a little pulse on the card as well to show that it's number 1. Same thing as before. Let's pulse it quick and do the same pulse for the meeple. So let's put the pulse to end here, and then the meeple should start moving at 3, and when the meeple arrives, that will also do a little, hey, I'm here, look at me, I'm a meeple, I'm a big meeple. There we go. Give it a pulse as well, and it will also loop afterwards, and an empty animation segment so it doesn't loop immediately. This loops as well. Let's save and see what we have.
Now, lay the card on the table and move your meeple the correct amount.
There we go. And one last thing. Let's discard the card, since that's already almost the end of the turn. So we'll sync blocks, sync exos, then let's go move the animations from the ending places. So card, drag the needle here, remove animations. This here, remove animations, and then we'll put this to discard. Record animation. Let's start by dragging this up, turning it, twisting it a little bit, then keep on animating. There. Then it can already, let's reset the rotation, snap to ground, use shift to turn it, just set it on the right place where I want it, and save animation. Kinda twists funny, but I think that's fine. Let's see how it looks like when it's a bit faster. Well, that's too fast. Yep. That was way too fast. What about now? No, that's fine. I could add a bit of a... So it starts the movement to the correct position already earlier. So it looks a little bit better. Let's save and close and play these two one after the other.
Now, lay the card on the table and move your meeple the correct amount. Now discard the card you just played to a discard pile next to the board.
As you can see, I didn't put the empty segment here, so now it immediately loops. It doesn't look good. So I'm gonna put an empty segment. I want it to be there for a few seconds before it loops in the beginning. Okay, here we go.
Now discard the card you just played to a discard pile next to the board.
So we didn't get as far as I thought in the half an hour, since time flies, but we did manage to get important things done. We created custom object, we created a custom die, we created the master step, which is your best friend when you are actually starting to animate your tutorial. Remember, first do the script like we had here. We had all the steps in place, they were empty, but you could try out the tutorial. And when everything is done, everything works, you've play tested it, then start putting animations in place. Since after you have created all the animations everywhere, and then you find out that there's a glitch and you need to add extra segments, or there's a component missing or something, then it will be much harder to fix. If you can, always create the flow first before animating anything, except the buttons. Those you need, but anything else, it's worthwhile doing the script first. So this was today's seminar. As said, concentrated only on animation. I hope it gave you some ideas on how to animate stuff and very easily do visually appealing stuff, and some ideas on the camera angles, how you wanna keep everything in focus and try to get as close as possible. There's no such thing as too close. And as here, it doesn't matter that these things clip out. These are not in focus. If this is clipped out, that is fine, since what we want to show the players is the meeples and the card. And even if this card goes a little bit over the top, it still shows that it's just it's the card that you need to discard. All right, that is it. Let's stop presenting. There we go. So thank you for participating, and I'm gonna upload this as before. It will be on Google Drive, and we'll continue the 5th seminar series in a couple of weeks. We'll see if we keep on animating or if we start going to turn 2. We'll do the in the future that after turn 2 we'll do a menu structure. I'm gonna show you how to do the buttons and the menu that goes around the tutorial, and then we'll do the ending of this example, and then forward unto dawn and new exercises. So thank you for this, and see you soon.